Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new week of Misfits Racing League action. We are kicking things off today, of course, Tuesday evening with the EU division. As always, joining me, Unicorn. How you doing?
I'm looking forward to this one. It's Suzuka. It's a track that I think a lot of people love. It's a great circuit. We've commentated it before in the endurance race, and that was a blast. So I'm sure today will be absolutely no different.
I'm very excited for this circuit. As you said, we've commentated it before for the endurance series. I had the pleasure of commentating it last season for, of course, the finale, the final round of Season 2 action for Tier 2 and Tier 1, and some iconic moments being presented from that. Of course, Alex Biddle will know all about those. But let's take a look at the calendar, because we're getting down to the wire now. The championship is definitely quite intense right now. It is round 13 here for the European division. Next week, we move on through to, of course, the United States Grand Prix. Following that, we go to Mexico, then Brazil for the penultimate round of Season 3 European Division action. And then the finale in Abu Dhabi. That's on the 15th of December. Now, with all of those rounds coming up, and all of the rounds we've had now, as I said, we're about to jump into round 13. Let's take a look at who's been pushing through this action. Let's take a look at who is driving what. It is, of course, Lutra and Jake over at Mercedes. We have Hurricane and Ruben over at Ferrari. Dirk Chocolate and Cotters for Red Bull. Alexander and Kana in the McLarens, with Safso and Beavis over with the Renault squad. Steph and Tim for AlphaTauri, with Vettel and iFelipich currently on fire over at Racing Point. We have XTXP and Relapse over at Alfa Romeo, with Ewans and No Conviction at Haas. I do believe Ewans may have stepped out of the grid now. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, so I think there may be a reserve in place of him. I think we may have a few reserves on the grid today, but of course, Ewans, No Conviction for Haas. Baza and Adam rounding out the 20 full-time drivers for this grid, of course, in the European division at Williams. Now, EU standings, of course. Let's take a look. How are we doing? Things quite tense right now, especially in the midfield. iFelipich, since he's joined the division, Unicorn, he has been flying. 152 points for the Croatian driver, leading this championship right now. His teammate as well, Vettel, the Mexican, in second with 112 points. It's a 1-2 for the Racing Point squad, so they are clearly leading this Constructors Championship as well. You have Tim there in third, Hurricane fourth, with Jake rounding out the top 5 for the championship, with Ferrari in second and Mercedes right behind them as far as the Constructors battle is concerned. Of course, following Russia last round in round 12, multiple penalties being given to racers post-race after that one, and Tim was promoted to P5 following time removal, so that dropped a couple back. But I do believe with all of this, Unicorn, we are just about to go racing here around the iconic Suzuka circuit.
Yep, we are indeed ready. We've got all 20 drivers. They're all getting sent backup invites because of the new patch, but we've got them all here. Like you said, there are a few reserves here, a couple of names that I'm actually unfamiliar with, but remember to put it on invite only and select that spectator role. But other than that, yeah, we're 20 drivers ready to go racing around Suzuka, and it's such a good fun track, and I'm excited to see how these guys put it to the test, so to speak.
Well, it's one thing. I have seen a few of these drivers, as you mentioned, new to you, but perhaps not new to me. I've seen them in open lobbies and in a couple of practice races. So we'll go through the grid once we jump in to, of course, this racing action. We're going to have 18 minutes of qualifying, as well as a nice roll of the dice for weather. And right now, things looking quite sunny here in Suzuka, and you'll love to see it. So these drivers will more than likely have a nice dry running. But let's take a look at this grid. Baza, we have Angel, or Vettel as we know him, on the standings. So he's, of course, the second position driver in the championship. He is in his race. Okay, we have Adam over at Williams as well, partnering Baza. The full-time racers both present and accounted for. Now, Whisper, a new reserve on the grid, of course, going through the trials and getting things done yesterday in the practice series here around Suzuka. So he's already got one race under his belt here around Suzuka. He'll be looking to do well here in his reserve debut. Beavis and Safso over at Renault. Adrian and Jake today for Mercedes. Lutra not able to make it today, so Adrian's filling on in. We have Ruben, of course, the South African Monaco winner, in 9th position. We have Steph there in his AlphaTauri. Alexander is here as well as Tim. Now we have Distinctive on the grid today. Distinctive, a driver who I have seen and recognize as a driver who can put on some good pace and some racing action. So we'll see how he goes around in his first reserve race today. Cotters is on the grid, of course, partnering, well, Dirk Chocolate. Not here today. Very interesting to see that. So Bajarn in for Dirk Chocolate today. Normally it's Dirk Chocolate doing a lot of the reserving in the divisions, if you will. Unicorn not present. XTXP and Moen for Alfa Romeo today. Hurricane and Kana rounding out the 20 drivers on this grid. It is a busy grid today. First driver out of the pit lane, as always, Adam in the Williams.
Yeah, and I think it is nice to see a few new faces, but obviously there's a few reserves on here, and that can always provide some interesting action, especially when the reserves are absolutely blisteringly fast and they provide, you know, a little bit of a unknown element to some of the drivers.
This is a turn. Spoon. The exit of Spoon is a turn that drivers find, from what I've heard, to be fairly tricky. I've seen some racers go off into that gravel trap on the right-hand side and really struggle. But now Adam, he's coming down into the final chicane here. Coming out of this long right winding exit, if you will, into the long pit straight. The only DRS detection zone on this circuit is this pit straight. So this will be the only real run these drivers have with that DRS utilization. Now, coming through this very intricate, of course, Sector 1, the S's. Very iconic section of Suzuka here. Drivers, very difficult to find wheel-to-wheel space through this section of circuit. Alex Bitto can talk to you about that. Coming through, of course, the first and second Degners now, as we make our way under the bridge. We're into the hairpin. This is where you can see quite a bit of move and overtaking opportunity, because drivers, they get a very good run out of that second Degner, and they want to try and shoot up that inside into the hairpin, and it's definitely a hot spot as we move down into, of course, Spoon now, utilizing that exit curb, or that outside curb, I should say, on both occasions. Now making our way through the iconic 130R, where we saw Charles Leclerc one-hand it last season, into, of course, now the final chicane. Perhaps a little bit of a loss of traction on exit, but the first time in this session is going to be a 129.2 out of the Williams. I believe Ifilipic now will be the next driver to cross, and it's a 125.9. A monstrous lap out of the Racing Point, now leading this championship. Bajarn crosses second quickest for a moment. A 128.4 was the time from him. Adrian jumps onto the front row, a 127.2 here so far. Angel in fourth on the medium compound, a 127.968 with Kana in the McLaren, a 126.3 now into second position.
Well, Ifilipic up at the top, not a sight we're uncommon from seeing. He's been up there plenty of times, and it looks like tonight it's going to be a little different, but Barza across the line, a 128.5 for him in the Williams.
Distinctive now coming through the final chicane. Moving up through the gears, DRS now to the line. What's it going to be from him? P3, a 127 flat. The first lap out of the Haas camp. Whisper coming through Spoon now in the partnering Haas. It's an all-reserve drive at Haas today, and there's a big slide out just coming on the exit through out of Spoon there, and making our way down the straight into 130R now. Will he continue on with this lap? Will he try to come in and maybe go out and fix that error? We'll have to see. It is, of course, 12 minutes remaining in this session. Oh, Whisper. E3 jumping ahead of Distinctive at 126.835, even with a couple of mistakes. Definitely more in it for him. Safso now in the Renault. His teammate Beavis is invalidated, but it's going to be Safso. A very fast driver here, moving up through out of Spoon, coming into 130R in the Renault.
I want to know what's happened. There's 2 cars retired at the side of 130R apparently. It looks like Steph and Jake. I'm not sure what's happened to the pair of them, but they're both in the barrier outside of 130R.
Safso 127.817. Very odd that we see those cars have that issue. Oh, and in the Alfa Romeo, he's on an outlap now. Going to begin Hurricane. Looks to be flying. However, he's been setting chain laps on this set of mediums, I do believe. Right now, it is Felipe, Chicana, and Tim, your top 3.
Yeah, behind them, the 2 Haas reserves as well, so they're keeping those seats warm and doing a good job whilst doing so as well. So I'm sure permanent Haas drivers will be happy. Moen's out. It looks like he's had a problem through 130R. Oh, not 130R, the S's, sorry. Can't see the car. On board with his teammate. It looks like he's just missed the corner.
Fairly sure what's going on with Alexander. Fairly sure if he's flying at the moment. I don't believe he is.
He seems to be struggling, but he keeps turning that ERS on and off.
Quite a variety of drivers on outlaps, however. We're going to get some action here in a moment. Of course, let us know in the chat who are your favorites for, of course, pole position or the podium top 3 positions, perhaps. Let us know who you got on the podium in the race, and what are we thinking for safety cars, Unicorn?
Well, safety cars definitely possible around here, especially if you're seeing incidents through the S's. Some close quarters racing can easily result in someone losing a wheel to that outside wall, so I reckon we'll see at least one here this evening. I'd be surprised if we didn't. But as for how many, I reckon we could get away with just one. The racing was very clean last week, and we didn't really see too many. So I imagine we're going to keep that streak going, and we'll only see one. That's my prediction for this evening. As like you said, a whole host of drivers have started flying laps.
I think we're going to see Bajarn. And validation on the exit of the second Degner here. He's not going to be too thrilled about that. He was flying in the Red Bull. We're going to look on over with Angel now, as he's just begun a lap, and he's currently P10. He set that first run on the medium. Now out on softs, making his way through the first sector.
A few drivers certainly struggling here. I've just watched XXP wrestle it around the hairpin. Big slide coming out the rear of his Alfa Romeo. I know he's just stopped in Spoon on my screen. Thankfully, Adrian's just passed through him, but goodness knows what happened there. That was very unnerving to witness. But neither driver impacted, it would seem, so they can continue on. Adrian looks like he's on for a pretty strong lap here. He's 2/10 down on Distinctive.
Adrian to the line. He improves 4/10, so 126.8. Ruben behind him has had an issue coming out of the final chicane. Fast mover coming behind. I believe that was Distinctive beginning a lap. Angel now coming through the final chicane. P6 for him. It's a dead second improvement. Very neat out of him. That was a precise 1 second, 1000 out of the Mexican. Things are quite tight in that front end, I have to say. If it wasn't for Filipich being so far up ahead and in the road right now with that 125.9, I think we would have a very, very low interval gaps on that timing tower. Filipich crosses a 125.5. He had more in the tank, a 4.24 improvement, 4/10 out of the Croatian. Really pushing the bar here, and that puts Kana 5/10 out.
Yeah, and Filipich, there just doesn't seem to be anything that can stop him from setting these absolutely incredible lap times. He's just blown us away week after week, and it looks like Suzuka here this week is going to be absolutely no different, as Distinctive still on an invalid lap. Codders coming through the final chicane around the final corner into the DRS zone. It's a 4/10 improvement. He hops into P8 in the Red Bull.
Ooh. Just as I switched off of Whisper, he was coming out of Dunlop, and it was see you later. He had a massive spin. As soon as I had switched off of that Haas. Now going again, no damage. That was a close call.
Dunlop there, a fairly easy corner to lose grip on because of that. The way it banks around to the left, you've got an easy gravel section to just sort of hook on the right-hand side, because there is an off-road which you can sort of utilize on the right-hand side of the track, but it very suddenly ends, and if you're not fully anticipating and you're not being careful, you can quite easily spin your car with the lack of grip. Interestingly enough, Bajar has gone out on mediums to try and qualify on that competent tyre, but he's having a bit of a problem through the S's, sliding all over the place.
A lot of traffic out in the field right now, I have to say. In the circuit, there is a ton, especially coming up through into 130R here. Beavis, low fuel light on. E4 presently. Nice time from him, a 126.5. He'll be entering through in the pit lane. Whisper has just begun a flyer.
Yeah, and he needs to close back up to his teammate. He was side by side with him now. Distinctive's improved, put himself back into that P4, but Whisper's dropped out of the top 5. He's down in 7th, so he'll want to climb. Bajar coming through 130R.
Whisper again. Dunlop. Very unstable through there. Fireman on circuit here out of Whisper.
Yeah, and that to me, it didn't look like he... Because like I was saying, there is that gravel trap, but it didn't look like it. It looks like he had a snap there from the car. He never even made it to that gravel trap that could catch people out, so... Interesting. I've seen a few people struggling with their back ends today, so I'm wondering if risky setups are being utilized by some of the drivers here, and we saw it last week at Sochi, where a few drivers were running setups which maybe made the car a little bit less stable than they would have liked. As Bartlett comes through the hairpin. Currently sitting on a 128.5, definitely going to want to improve, get himself up towards the point scoring positions, and one of the Ferraris has had an issue, it would seem. Ruben pointing the wrong way and has hit the inside wall coming out of turn 2.
Oh, that's bad luck for the South African.
Barza up on his time for almost 5/10, apparently a purple sector 2 as well. So this could be a very, very strong lap time for him, coming into the chicane at the end of the lap. Out of turn 18, the final corner, into the DRS zone. It's a 127.9, over half a second improved for Basel. That puts him up into P13.
To say things in this field are actually relatively tight at the moment. Really, just shy of 2 minutes. Well, just shy of 2 minutes remaining here in this qualifying session ahead of our 50% race, the first of 5 Japanese Grand Prix races that we will be hosting here on the channel this week. Of course, welcome in everyone. My name is Strifium. Joining me from the UK, of course, as always, for a European division action is Unicorn. Ruben now into the pit lane, and I don't know if he'll be able to get to set another lap here. There is a little bit of a time desync.
Yeah, the time desync, evidently something not fixed in the current patch, and you were telling me before the stream we might have a few nice little surprises for us in terms of additional features. One which I know we're going to be utilising quite a lot towards the end of the race, I imagine.
Angel in the racing point, coming down through into 130R. He is actually not on an improvement at the moment, but he could find something here in, of course, Sector 3. The amount that he was down moving through was quite minimal, but he is going to call it quits and enter into the pit lane. So nothing left for Angel, and we'll have to see. Dafso in the Renault, making his way through the S's section.
Yeah, like you said, there's still a lot of traffic out on track, and there's... Who is that in the racing point? That's Felipic, who's had a huge issue through Spoon. So Felipic does not appear that he will be improving here. He's...
Oh, Safso! Safso's had a major issue. We had the aerial view as he came out of the second Degner on the exit of the underpass. Oh dear, so Safso will not be improving there. The Renault not going to be too thrilled about that. There was a driver who moved by him at that time. If I'm not mistaken, it was XTXP on an out lap. Not entirely sure if he will be effective. Alexander now on a flyer in the McLaren has just passed Ruben, who is on an out lap. So it would appear that we do have some element of desync here. Felipic now has retired in the pit lane.
Yeah, it's been a very eventful qualifying session. We've seen a lot of people spinning, unstable, trips to the wall. So this could be a very, very chaotic race if these drivers have these problems persist in the race. Even Felipic, our current pole sitter, by half a second even, has been into the gravel trap outside Spoon. So this could be anyone's race here, and my prediction of one safety car might prove inaccurate.
9 for Alexander. Ruben, unfortunately, unable to start a fresh lap here, will not be able to improve on a 128.2, the time out of the Ferrari. Now we have a couple of drivers who are looking to improve, the first of which presently is going to be Adrian. Can he improve? It is an improvement, a 1/10 improvement out of the Mercedes. Behind him, distinctive third, Beavis fourth now.
Tim's on his way to the line as well in the AlphaTauri coming through the final turn. Where's he going to end up in all of this? It's a 3/10 improvement. He jumps back into third place. And I think that's pretty much it for qualifying. I don't know who we're waiting on here.
Well, one thing is for certain, and that is that barring any issues, Felipic is going to have a very, very interesting race, of course, given the fact that he is 5/10 ahead of the next closest driver. Felipic on pole position, a 125.518 out of the Croatian Kana, the Finn, in the McLaren, lining up on the front row next to him. It's Tim in third, the AlphaTauri, a 126 flat, just 2 milliseconds shy of the front row on the rear of the fin, and distinctive fourth, Beavis in fifth. And we will, of course, go down through the rest of this grid with you on the formation lap.
Yeah, like I said, that qualifying rather interesting, and this race could prove so as well. I don't know if we've had a weather report, but there are definite clouds here. Whether they're gonna produce any rain from them is another matter. But those clouds are definitely present. I don't think we had a weather report. I didn't see one. I was sending out a lot of backup invites before the race, though, so I could have missed it. But there is a lot of cloud coverage here at Suzuka, as we've got 20 seconds until the session gets underway. Obviously, we'll have a formation lap before we get underway. And we'll have to see what sort of tyres those outside the top 10 are picked, whether we'll see. I imagine we'll see quite a few mediums out there. Poll up in the chat right now as to how many safety cars you guys think there will be.
Of course. Hi, Felipic. Securing yet again another pole position around Suzuka, and it's as he said. Clouds in the sky here, things looking threatening. Hi, Felipic, Kana, Tim, your top three. Distinctive fourth with Beavis in fifth. That's Adrian sixth with Whisper in seventh. Angel in eighth. Alexander ninth. And Cotters rounds out your top 10 racers here. He is the de facto numero uno today over at the Red Bull squad, as Dirk Chocolate unable to join us over in the other car. However, Hurricane in 11th position, XTXP in 12th. That's Safso in 13th here with Baza 14th. Ruben in 15th position. That's Steph 16th. Bajarn filling in for Dirk today, 17th position. Adam in 18th, as well as Jake 19th here, and Moen rounding out the 20 drivers for this one. And look at the tire differential here, Unicorn. Talk us through these tires.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of variation outside, not even the top 10, it's the top, everyone from 9th down. Alexander qualified on the mediums in 9th place, and then outside the top 10, you've got 4 runners on mediums, 2 on hards, and another 4 on softs. So the battle outside of the points is going to be very interesting in the pit window here. We're going to have 3 of them realistically, plus there could be varying strategies from the guys who start on the softs. So it's a very, very varied grid in terms of the tyre strategies, and if we do see rain, it could work out much better for some compared to others, depending on how quickly that rain comes in. If we see rain quickly, the soft runners are going to benefit. If it takes a little longer, come into the race, the mediums and the hards, that's when they're going to start to play out and really be beneficial. Sasa and Barza seems to have had an issue, but keep an eye on those guys outside the top 10, particularly those on the mediums and the hards, because varying tyre strategies, we've seen it before, we'll see it again, can come in very, very exciting.
Felipic, Kana now on the front line here. The final car is approaching the grid here. Moen in the Alfa Romeo bringing up the rear of this one. Of course, round 13, European Division, Misfits Racing League, Season 3 action. My name's Strifium. Unicorn, take us away.
Well, here we go. Then we've got 5 red lights lit and ready to go. The drivers are revving their engines. They're not away yet, but they are now. Here we go then. Everyone away. The McLaren of who is that? Is Alexander gets a very interesting start. Sideways off the line. He hasn't come into contact with anyone, though. It's distinctive. Going up the inside, very hot of the Renault of Beavis. Is that going to allow Beavis to come back as he goes wide through turn 2? It's still distinctive in P4. And then behind Beavis, you've got Adrian trying to go past. He stepped into the ground. We've got a yellow flag.
There's been a big issue.
Goodness.
Alexander.
The McLaren of Alexander's just been tagged by Whisper there. And
the VSC deployed. Multiple penalties coming across for collisions. Ooh.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting the little flags here to come off the timing tower, but that's very easy. You can see there 6 drivers minimum. Well, 7 involved, because Alexander, of course, is sadly out of this race, and there's a lot of damaged vehicles on this grid right now. End plates are missing everywhere.
Well, it is very unfortunate when these incidents occur. VSC was deployed. before that incident actually happened. So I'm not entirely sure what happened as a result, but we're going to have a variety of penalties now, 3, and we do have a new look at penalties, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the newest edition in the latest patch. We have a penalty visual. Now, of course, some drivers getting frisky. Angel, Adrian, wheel-to-wheel coming through 130R. That's Adrian on the outside now, being pushed wide. Felipic has lost a position now. Takana in fight for the lead of this race. Angel and Adrian still holding into this battle. Adrian holding on to 6 with dear life right now. Kana 142.255, the fastest lap in this one. Of course, the VSC throwing a wrench in how quick these racers can go. Tim sticking with this front row battle. Angel now still with Adrian. And there is just so much exchanging now. We're back to, well, a green circuit here.
Yeah, there's a huge train from first down through 5th right now. As well as Steph, he's tight to the rear of Ruben. Ruben's already had one issue through the S's in qualifying. Now Steph looking around the outside on the exit of Dunlop into the first Degner. It's the AlphaTauri up the inside of the Ferrari, and what a neat move that was. Coming out of Steph there, up into the points for him. Ruben's not going to let him go, though. Obviously no DRS as of right now. Doing very well to stick together, as well as Felipic looking around the outside of Kana. Up towards Spoon they go. Kept it clean, but he's not able to make the move.
A big yellow come up on circuit map there. Not entirely sure what was doing, but no safety car as a result, of course. Thank you to everybody who's tuning into the stream. Welcome to round 13. It is Suzuka, and it has not disappointed yet, as Felipic now on the inside of Kana, coming through the chicane, gets it done. The camera didn't want to change, but yeah, there it goes for the Croatian now. Tim, hot on the rear of the McLaren as well. Distinctive has the front row seat to this action, and Felipic takes a 130.2 to really cement his pace now on this grid here as we begin lap 3. These drivers will have DRS as they make their way down the pit straight, but of course that is the only place they will have DRS, and that's not until the end of this lap as we begin lap 4.
Yeah, Distinctive as well. These guys now losing a little bit. Felipic has managed to tear away and through the S's by a second, so I don't know what was holding you back in the first few laps, but now you've got Beavisk as well. Distinctive seems to have a little bit of a problem, and now Beavisk is hot on his heels. So this top 5 very tight. Then you got a second to Adrian, and then there's a very tight battle on the second 5. The second top 5. I don't know how we describe that. 6th through 10th though. As Beavisk looking like he's wanted to make a move through Spoon, but it's a very risky place to try and take a position. The way it's just this long corner. It's actually 2 corners, but here we go, overtake enabled on the runner. Obviously no DRS down into the run, into 130R. The runner has a look up the inside, hasn't got the pace to carry it through. Is he going to have a look up into the chicane? No, he's not, but DRS is enabled, and we will see it come into play down the start-finish straight.
This is where the DRS is just so powerful. Distinctive with a snap to the inside now. He wants that inside line as we make our way down through turn 1. Beavis around the outside much earlier on the brakes than Distinctive. Distinctive has a big dive down through. Beavis secures the position for now, and it's going to be quite difficult to get anything done as we make our way through the S's. Very difficult to go wheel to wheel through here. What a read from Beavis there, getting on those brakes early. Now it's Adam and Baza quite tight in 12th and 13th right now.
Adrian as well coming up the inside of Distinctive, not making them, but he's again, Distinctive seems to have lost pace through Dunlop and has found himself vulnerable to the car behind. He's got traction out of the corners, but something about, I don't know whether it's Dunlop specifically, neither Tom have been on board, but he just seems to drop to the car behind through that section of the track.
Adrian, oh, he's got Angel right on his rear, and this train is really forming, and if Distinctive falls out of Beavis too long here, Oh, Angel isn't waiting around. And through the chicane, Alexander has left. As unfortunate as it is to see the McLaren out of this race so early.
Yeah, you never want to lose someone on lap 1, but Adrian around the outside of Distinctive, not quite being as successful as Beavis was 1 lap ago. They've got Angel as well, like you said, on the tail of this fight, and the S is a tricky place to get through, and Adrian trying to find it. Let's see. What is Distinctive going to do through this Dunlop curve that seems to have been troubling it? Hasn't had the issue this time. Through the Degners though, and Adrian taking a lot of that inside curbing. Whether that's a warning or not, I imagine it was very close if it wasn't.
Oh.
And who's that? A Williams? Adam, I think.
Yeah, that's Adam in the Williams coming through the S's. Yellow flags, but he is still going. No VSC, no safety car as a result. Adrian very tight to the rear of Distinctive. He had a look. Angel now, moving to the inside in the racing point as we make our way into Spoon. He's on the inside. There goes Adrian, a little deep and wide. Oh, and they're holding on right now, but this might have exposed Angel to, of course, the Ferrari. Hurricane is looking at him real closely.
Yeah, Hurricane's on these mediums as well, so they're going to kick in a few laps' time when these start to wear out. So Hurricane in a very dangerous position for the drivers ahead. Is that Cottas? Cottas, I don't know what just happened there. I think he's just cut the final chicane with an incident, as Hurricane has now got past Angel via that DRS. Both have got it, but Adrian and Distinctive still battling as well. A little bit of tap into the rear of the house from the Mercedes, but they're both still undamaged, driving in the right way, and that's what you love to see.
Distinctive is holding on so well right now, and I want to take a look at that front wing. Somebody suggested that he may have damage. I don't believe he does. No, he does not. Yeah, he's just doing really well to defend right now. And the one key thing that we need to look at here, Unicorn, we have Hurricane in this top 10. He's on the medium compound tires. Ruben right now, those hards, 1.6 seconds out of these points. And of course, we don't know anything about the weather. I still don't think we got the full forecast. I didn't hear it if we did. But of course, Hurricane now looking at Adrian. Is he going to have a move? A little bit of decent coming between these drivers. You hate to see it, but par for the course of... Oh, Adrian, he's so close to the rear of Distinctive. Has this compromised his exit out of Spoon? The Ferrari Hurricane has a great slipstream in the rear view. He's got the medium compound tires. He's got some great traction. He moves ahead, coming through 130R. A little bit of desync, a little bit of ghosting. Thankful, of course, the ghosting does come into play when the connections get a little bit shaky.
Yeah, and Adrian now in P6. He's still got DRS. Distinctive, this has given him a little bit of breathing room behind.
Things are very tight in this midfield. If any of these drivers so much as make a mistake here, go offline, touch a toe in the gravel, if you will, they're going to lose time and potentially position. Of course, the penalties not too great at the moment. Hurricane 5 seconds, Adrian 3 seconds. I have to say, I love that we can do that. Cotters now has been dispatched by Steph on their way through the first Degner.
Another very clean move from an AlphaTauri. Steph has got him straight up the inside of Dunlop.
Hurricane now having a good look at Distinctive. Less than 2/10 the gap on our way into Spoon. Really good control of this car right now on these mediums in comparison to the Haas. We saw Hurricane dispatch one driver coming through 130R. I don't believe he'll have the same run. Yellow flag coming up through sector 1.
So bended out of Dunlop. It's somewhere we're not unfamiliar with seeing it on this track. He's got away damage free though, so he can continue, and he's come out ahead of Bajar.
Had some kind of desync as the drivers in lead of this race have lost our intervals, but now it's a wheel-to-wheel exchange. Adrian not close enough to witness this, but Distinctive holding the inside as we make our way through. The first turn, Distinctive still just keeping back Hurricane. And right now, Hurricane on these mediums showing a little bit more pace perhaps. A little bit more grip, a little bit more traction, of course, as a result.
And Hurricane and Adrian, they can't be held up in this train. They need to get going. I mean, Hurricane's on a different strategy to these guys, but they both got that 5-second penalty that they're going to serve in their pit stop. So they don't want to be behind Distinctive. You can see B-Risk, as soon as he passed Distinctive, is now 2 seconds up the road. And they're getting very close through the hairpin. It looks like Sasso's had another issue in the Renault. He's pointing the wrong way on the start-finish line. Not where he wants to be, but Hurricane still super tight to the rear of Distinctive. Just needs to find a way to squeeze past the Haas. Can he do it down towards 130R? He's got more ERS than the Haas, but the Haas just utilizing more. Through they go, and DRS might be Hurricane's savior here.
Well, Safso, I do believe, has had another issue through turn 1. Oh, and that's a VSC deployed as a result. He's in the gravel on the exit out of 2. So no overtaking now. Yeah.
Distinctive, sorry.
I was going to say Hurricane was primed and ready to go there for a solid run, but Safso has, well, unfortunately had an issue here in his Renault. He's missing his entire front wing. You hate to see.
Yeah, I don't know what was troubling him on that previous lap, and obviously now he's lost that front wing, so he's going to have to come into the pits. But he was damage-free after his first incident, and the second incident, I don't know if that caused him damage either, but something wrong with the setup of that car, it would seem, because he's on the mediums. They shouldn't be, especially after 5 laps, they should not be worn. Well, they'll be worn, but nowhere near as much to cause the spins that we're seeing out of that Renault as we go back to green flag racing.
Well, it is lap 9 now. A lot of... Ooh, who's that? That's Adrian. I thought I heard a little bit of contact between him and the Ferrari.
On my screen, he was under the Ferrari. So, not quite sure what's going there.
Has retired in the pit lane. So that is one Red Bull out of this race.
Here goes Angel up the inside of Adrian. Got that move done before 130R, and look at this train, the racing point looking like he might want to go for Hurricane as well. He's lost an end plate, and I think he's also cost Hurricane an end plate as well. He's pushed Hurricane into the car, and there's rain.
There's rain coming down, and this has really presented Angel with a, well, Angel, however you wish to pronounce, of course. We have Angel and Distinctive both coming into the pit lane here. Who else has come in? Adrian has, and now Hurricane is caught in an overcut position with damage. Now here's the thing. Angel's just put on soft compound tires as rain has started to fall. Very interesting call here.
Well, it depends how heavy this rain is, because if it's light rain, we're not going to see it wet enough for intermediates. He wanted that wing change, so it might not be the worst call for him. It's going to cost him a pit stop, but at the same time, it might not work out too poorly for him.
Yeah, that wasn't an ideal situation. He wanted to get rid of that damage, and it's too early for Inters. Well, unless you're Adam. Adam in that 17th position. Williams has made a very, very interesting judgment call. Perhaps he thinks the rain is going to come hard and fast here.
Well, we've certainly seen that happen, but it doesn't look like it's heavy enough right now for that to happen. You can barely see it from some of the helicopter cams. And when you're on board, it's worse, but still not particularly prevalent. So I think the dryers are going to be good for at least another lap or so. And that means the intermediates are not going to be firing on all cylinders. Evisk, DRS.
Yeah.
Into Tim.
He just wasn't close enough, Unicorn, to really pull the trigger down into that turn 1 right-hander. And he's gaining so much on this AlphaTauri ahead, and it could be that he has a setup Maybe they knew about the rain. Maybe he's got a setup that's going to engineer him a little bit more pace in a little bit slicker conditions. I don't know. We've seen so many different strategy choices out of these drivers. If they knew that there was going to be rain for a prolonged period, they may have been running on wet setups through the entirety of this race.
Well, one thing as well, it depends how long it takes, because right now the track is still, from just looking at it visibly, still dry tire territory. And it's the first race of the week, so I haven't got a full look as to how long these softs last, because it's very close to the rear Tim. But if these softs are on the breaking point, Hurricane right now is in an absolutely brilliant position because he can keep going. He's on mediums. He's in 5th, as well as Ruben in 8th. So both the Ferraris right now in a very nice position, whereas these soft runners are going to be forced to pit in a few laps no matter what.
Beavis on the exit. Beavis, oh, a little bit of contact there, a little bit of a brush with the back left. Can't find my words at the moment. Now to the inside on the exit of the chicane. How are we going to go here? It's a serious run out of that Renault and that DRS to salt the wound as well. Down into 3rd goes Beavis.
Yeah, those exits were super nice from the Renault, and Tim's been looking strong this evening, but Beavis right now, just he's on form is what he is. We saw him overtake Distinctive and clear him, and now he's cleared Tim as well, and I'll have to see if he dispatched him in a similar way. He's already 9/10 up on him, so very impressive driving this evening from the Renault. He's up 2 places from where he started. Steph now is looking at the rear Hurricane.
Yeah, he's on a charge here. You and I just keep latching onto the same drivers here because there's not too much going on this grid right now. Some, faces in the grid. We've seen quite a few VSCs at this point. What, 2 VSCs now at this point in time?
2, yeah, I reckon, yeah, it's 2 VSCs.
Still 17 drivers in it, and that's 17 opportunities potentially per lap for a safety car. We're only on lap 12. We're not even halfway through this campaign here just yet, but it is Steph now charging on the rear of Hurricane as they make their way behind. Who was that there on the circuit that they had just passed by?
I believe that's the Williams of Atom on those inters. And it really isn't the weather for them yet. We've still got DRS, and that's always a telltale sign. Beavis has come in. He's come in for medium strip.
I don't know if we're going to see any intermediate compound tires here. This is going to be a light drizzle, perhaps. Or, as you said, and they just had to get off of those softs.
But it's a very interesting start. It depends how well he's preserved them. As we're seeing a couple of people come in now. Codders and Distinctive have popped into the pits as well for more dry compound tires. So I think the likes of Hurricane, Ruben, Moen, who's now into the points on these harder compound tires. If this rain worsens, they're going to be a pit stop up on everyone else, but they've started this race on the slower compound tires. It's a flexible strategy, as Felipic on his fresh mediums has already caught up to the rear of Steph and Hurricane, and look at the traction he's got coming out of Spoon down towards 130. He's absolutely flying past the Alpha Tower, who's on soft command tires. So he's setting a precedent here, and the problem is you see these, and if these drivers hesitate and they get on these tires too late, they're not going to get the full benefit if we do see the rain worsen. Obviously we don't know the forecast, but this is a very interesting situation to be in. Kana comes in for fresh mediums. Here's Felipic on Hurricane. The DRS dragging him past around the outside. He goes. Hurricane holding on to the inside. A little bit of tap. He's managed to save the spin, but that's cost him a lot of time. And there comes Steph. Not flying past. He's actually managed to hold him off somehow.
Well, touch and go through wet conditions now. Adam has entered the pit lane, and Williams has brought that car back into the garage here. Him now has already been dispatched by Felipic as they made their way out of Dunlop. Felipic not waiting around here. And
Yeah, I
this
think
is
these
going to be
soft tires are
huge.
gone.
This is going to be huge for him now. He was already leading things by a margin of, well, kilometers, I guess.
I think this benefits one person pretty substantially. That's Hurricane. He can just pit in a couple of laps' time for softs if that's the strategy that's going to be happen here. Because he's on those mediums, he can finish on the softs, and the rain still doesn't appear to be really settling on the track. So I imagine, like you said, we're not going to see intermediate conditions. There's Angel on the fresh softs, looking at Moen on hards. They're both wiggling around, but it is the racing point up into P8.
It was neatly done in the end there for Angel. Yeah, he'll be looking to really push here as we have some drivers jumping into the pit lane. Well, Tim's jumping into the pit lane. Angel is quite some ways away. But he is, of course, on some softs, and really curious to see what happens as a result of those softs, because if I'm not mistaken, he still has to come in.
What's interesting here is that Steph, Tim's teammate, obviously couldn't just pit behind him, otherwise he got a double stack for no reason. But we're now 15 laps into this race. We're over halfway, and Steph's still on his starting soft compound tyres. He's really pushing these to the limits, and you've got to imagine that if they're not communicating, it's cost them here, because Steph now is going to be really struggling for grips on such old soft tyres, and you can see it there out of the hairpin. He's really, really struggling on these tyres. He's going to come into the pits at the end of this lap, almost guaranteed. He's still going to be out in the top 10, behind a couple of drivers who have yet to pit as well, so...
Yellow flag for
hope he has
and it's
VSC.
It's Angel, yeah, and he's had an issue coming out of the second Degner, and he's gone into the inside wall. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. So that's 3 VSCs, not a single full safety car yet in this campaign. We've got rain falling. Wow. This is one way to start the week.
Yes, that's going to get a little bit of a reduced time loss, and I wonder whether he's lost a bit of time on this lap, but I wonder whether this VSC here is going to let Steph overtake his teammate Tim as the VSC ends and the track goes green again. Where is Tim? He's coming through the chicane now.
It'll be tight. He might get this.
I don't think he's going to have the pace going down into turn 1 as the rain seems to be getting a little bit heavier.
Oh, it was close, but not as close. Maybe Moen? Moen? No, he's way too far now. Well, as I say,
I can't remember the gap.
I jump on with Moen, and Cotters just shoots up his inside into 8th position. Neatly done. Neatly done. I didn't see that happening until Cotters made his way on the inside.
You know, moments on these 15-lap-old hards, and the question is now, as the rain appears to be getting heavier, I don't think the hards were the right call at the start of this race. It's going to give him the flexibility if there is intermediate conditions at the end, but
well, Jake isn't necessarily having the best time on his intermediate compound tires here. He's really risking it.
But what we're going to be seeing soon is the likes of those who started on compounds other than the softs, your Hurricanes and your Rubens, your Moens, start to come in for softs in a lap or so's time, because we've just seen Steph take his for 14 laps, so we know it's possible. I reckon they'll go another lap here, and then one of the Ferraris will come in and the other will come in at the end of lap 19.
Adrian on the inside of XTXP making their way through into Spoon, and a smooth operation coming out of the Mercedes there into 12th. Easy as you like.
Yeah, everyone just starting to space out a little bit. Kana is catching the 2 Ferraris on his fresh mediums. Rubens' his first target on the hards. The rain's getting heavier, but I'm still not seeing any puddles form on this track strip. But there's definitely
Ruben's not in a good position here right now. 16-lap-old hards. I think he was waiting and gambling for some heavier rain, perhaps, and he's in a decent position considering. Let's take a look at the position changes. Ruben running in third right now on the rear of his Ferrari counterpart has made up 12, 11 positions in this race. Kana in the McLaren moving up into third now.
Yeah, the tyres playing a big role now in this race, and someone who is playing an interesting strategy is Codders. I've only just really clocked onto this, but he's 3 laps into a stint on softs. They will make it to the end, but they're not going to be feeling good when he gets there, especially if track grip is lowered by this rain. So he's going to be close to a puncture when he gets in this, especially as the lack of grip, if it starts to cause wheel spinning or anything, those rear tyres are really going to be battered right down to
One
the
thing
core.
here is Hurricane, he's 12, nearly 13 seconds off of Filipich, okay? He's also got 11 seconds in penalties. So he is going to drop through this grid. I just checked in with that. Not good. Not good for him. And this rain has been just so light that I think that it was the right call to stay out on these, well, these dry compound tires, at least for now. And Jake in 15th with Baza now, XTXP, they're all jumping onto these intermediate compound tires. What I love about this gradual rain is a lot of the time it comes when these tires are beginning to wear. And the driver's mistaking the tire wear for slick conditions. They're mistaking that loss of grip, I think. There's a real, narrow margin for error in getting those things mixed up. So you get those things mixed up, boom, you're getting on those wet compound tires and you're going, uh-oh, I can't get tire temp into these, or they're too hot, or I can't do anything with them now. And it's all because you thought that your original tires, were because of the wet conditions, when in reality it was just the tire wear. But now, here's something. Hurricane, 17 laps on the mediums.
This isn't Hurricane, I don't think. This is AI.
Oh, he's
Hurricane's
left.
just disconnected. He's got an
Yes.
invitation again, but it's bringing him not only for tires but a wing change as well. Now, if he wanted to soldier on without that wing change to save him time, because like you said, he's got penalties. He's just served 5, but he's still got 6. So the AI, he's disconnected right before the pit entrance. Nothing he could do. Hopefully he's able to rejoin here, but that's cost him.
Whisper in the 9th position. Debut MRL reserve race, I suppose we can say. This now, we've had an issue coming through here. I believe that was the AlphaTauri. Def? Perhaps? Regardless, it's still Whisper now, hunting down Moen for P8.
Yeah, and why Moen hasn't got off of these hards, the only thing I can think of is he thinks this track's going to get wet, or more wet than it already is, but Whisper as well is on 16-lap-old mediums. It's almost guaranteed to be time to come in for the softs, because it's a fresh set of softs as well. It's not a set of softs that they've qualified on unless they've used all of them in qualifying, which I don't think they would have done. So, as Beavis is tightening up to Ruben as well. Barza getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Ruben, is he going to come in for softs? He is. Well, he's coming into the pits. Beavis is coming in as well. Is it time for intermediates?
Yeah, I think it
might
is.
be.
I think it is.
They're both coming in for him.
I think it
which
might
is going to
be...
hurt Hurricane even more.
Oh, here's the thing now. Well, Hurricane's back. Hurricane's back in here. It'll take him a second to get into his car, but Baza came in for softs.
Interesting. So he's been on the inters and he doesn't like them. Codder's now up into 4th. And he's on these softs. I reckon they've got at least another 7 laps in them. So he can take them to the end here. And if we do see the intermediates become the best tire, he's right now on the fastest dry compound. So
Where did our times go?
I think it's because Bars Hurricane rejoined the session, but it's not coming back anytime soon, it would seem. But the battle for fourth still very much alive.
Curious if... Well, Ruben's on the inners now, and he's looking quite feisty on them. He's getting a little bit more grip out of these tires in comparison. Look at the traction he's got on exit out of this hairpin right now. And I think finally maybe these circuit conditions have gotten to the point where, yes, the intermediates could be quicker, but then again, Cotters, 6 laps old on those softs. Is Ruben going to be able to pull behind, of course, the drivers ahead on these mediums? You see Ifalipich 20.5 seconds ahead of Kana. He is absolutely checked out. He is locked in.
I do believe DRS is still available as well to these drivers, so get a good look at that in a second. But like you said, Cotters has been dispatched here by these pair, and I think he's seen that as a sign to get on to the intermediate tyres before everyone else maybe jump the gun. And it's worth pointing out as well, there's this huge chunk of guys with penalties just ahead of the guys on the intermediate tyres. So this race could be flipped on its head, as we've got yellow flags popping up here, there, and everywhere. DRS still yet to be disabled, though. So the stewards are deeming the conditions acceptable, as that's a Williams. Barza off out of the last of the S's, turn 6.
The confusion in this race has been massive. I have to say that right now. Look at Hurricane now. He's had a major issue coming through coming out of the S's, really, through Dunlop, and he was in the gravel there. He's got... Who's this behind him then? That's Baza, who has been lapped at this point in time on the rear now of the Ferrari. But the tire confusion, you see Jake and Baza were running on the inters for the longest time. Now they're on the softs. I think the intermediates are the current tire now, and it would just appear that they have made some horrible decisions here in this race. Jake, just the same, hasn't made any good decisions in this race. He's been on the wrong tire throughout. Just been a very unique race, and Ruben is the biggest winner here so far, up 11 positions. He's in 4th. He does have penalties though. Hurricane up 3, Steph up 7 positions, Moen is up 8 positions. Jake, albeit he hasn't had the best race, he has made up position. Ruben's actually into 3rd now, as Tim has come in for intermediates.
I don't know if the intermediates are the fastest tyre on circuit right now, because I was looking at the gap between Tim and Ruben, and it was closing, but nowhere near as much as you would expect for a wet versus dry compound tyre, with one being advantageous over the other. So with only 5 laps to go and 44 seconds, unless these conditions get undrivable, I think we're going to see... Oh, there we go. DRS is now disabled, so I believe it probably will come into the bits now. So it is intermediate conditions, but only just. And he does hop into the pit lane, perfectly timed for that notification to come out to him.
Well, it's not a risk. It's not a
He
risk
has nothing
for him.
to lose.
He's able to do what he wants when he's got command of that car the way he does. He's got such pace. Adrian with a big slide out of the hairpin now. You can just see Tim eating him alive here. Of course, not only is it a rubber differential in the fact that it's inters versus mediums, but it is a tire life differential. And you can see the spray now starting to pick up as we look, as Tim picking up some spray into the Mercedes here. And he says goodbye. So intermediates enter into the equation now officially as the official tire to be on. I think I'll go ahead and call it there. Tim now, he's gaining very, very quickly on distinctive, and you can see now he's already pulled out nearly 2 seconds on Adrian on those 7-lap-old medium compound rubber tires. Now, Tim, no DRS, but look at the amount of speed he's carrying. Look at the timing tire come down, and when we come out of turn 1, that gap is going to be extremely, extremely small. Oh, but he's
And
tapped him. He's gently tapped Distinctive. I mean, I was right. The gap hasn't shrunk, but if he hadn't tapped him, it would be even closer.
And what's furthermore is Distinctive's got that penalty, and I don't think Tim really has the pace to go after Beavis with such a short.
Oh no! Distinctive was losing it, and Tim, unfortunately, has tapped him. Distinctive now. Losing out to the Avatar. Is there damage on that front end of the Haas? There must be. I do believe a front left end plate is missing now on that car. And there's a back marker. I believe it's Jake looking to unlap himself from this car ahead, and he's on the soft compound tires. Distinctive defending this. Not entirely sure why.
There's going to be a few position changes here as a result of penalties. By the looks of it, I think. Most of which will be within the points. So the standings will be impacted by that. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on.
You know, we have to think back to the race start of this. It has been such a unique beginning to some Grand Prix racing for Misfits this week. This is, of course, the first of 5 races this week, everyone, that we will be having around the iconic Suzuka. And it started out with what I think most would deem plausible reason for a safety car. But we saw a VSC.
For sure, that car was without a front left wheel, was in the middle of the track. And Codders gets past Distinctive, who not only is on dry compound tires, but also has damage. I think he's just trying to stay within the points to some extent, but with 3 laps to go, I don't know if he's actually going to succeed. With that in mind, he's got 3 seconds worth of penalties, and he's dropping like a stone. He's going to finish in no higher than 9th.
It's a really unique situation for all of these racers, because look at Whisper. He's in 8th, behind Distinctive in 7th. He's within a second now. He's on these intermediate compound tires. He's actually almost just careered into the rear of him as we move into the hairpin, and there goes Distinctive, letting his team by as easy as you like. No point in fighting that, and very unfortunate that he's on these mediums now as the rest of this grid has made the switch. Look at how much pace Codders was able to just pull out of him. He's just blown through this Haas.
Yeah, Distinctive. He's playing a trying game here, and I think his real problem here is going to be Moen. Because Moen, penalty free, just outside the top 10 right now, but Adrian's got 11 seconds of penalties. So I think Moen could stand instead of scoring a point here. Hurricane's coming past one, but he's got 6 seconds as well. It's all now very pace dependent. There goes Distinctive dropping down. He's into the pit lane, and he is going to finally get those intermediates, but I think it's too little too late for the Haas car. He should have done this a fair few laps ago. Moen needs to stay within 6 seconds of Hurricane over the course of the next 3 laps to score that point, and at the pace Hurricane is pulling away through the S's, I think Hurricane might actually have this. And he might even, with this pace, be able to try and close the gap up to Adrian and take advantage of the penalty situation.
That would be quite ideal for the Ferraris as well. Now, looking at the penalties in the front, Ruben, he needs to... I don't think he's going to keep this podium. Unless Beavis makes a mistake. Takes another 3-second time penalty from here to the finish of this race. I think it could be Beavis slotting into that podium position.
Well, even if Beavis did take another 3 seconds, he would stand in good steady. If he took another 3 seconds now, he'd lose by half a tenth. So...
It's very, very spicy. We know how the pressure can mount in the final lap of a race, and Filipic is just so far out ahead, and he is going to be beginning the final lap of this race in just a short moment here as he makes his way through Sector 3 now on the penultimate lap.
And what a drive it's been from him. Just absolutely stellar. Got off the dries at just the right time. Not only was he fastest on the dries, but he also got off them at the right time. We saw everyone else struggling with the strategy, struggling on when to get on and off of the tyres. But Filipic was one of the first to get off of the softs onto the mediums, and then he took the mediums right up until when DRS was disabled. The call was perfectly timed for him to just slot himself into the pit lane, get onto some inters, and he's just controlled this race from the front, and he's staying out there by 24.4 seconds.
Yeah, absolute class drive from him. A lot of pace in that car, of course, all season long. We have Jake, Baza, who have been on some very unfortunate tire compounds throughout this race. It just seems they were on the wrong tires at the, wrong times. And they have been lapped as a result. Distinctive is fairly close to being lapped here in this one as well. He may just hold on, however.
Yeah, it's all sort of petered out. The rain here and the confusion has really just changed this race up so much, and the position changes show that quite nicely. There is some real winners and some real losers here this evening. Obviously, it's easy to pick out those who have retired from this race, but the likes of Ruben, Steph as well, 10 places gained for him. AlphaTauri have had a pretty stellar race. Obviously, Tim's down 2 places, but still a 5th and 6th for them is very solid. Moen as well, he's up 9 places right now. I don't think he is actually going to get that point. Hurricane is torn away from him, and he's not quite close enough for Adrian to take advantage.
Crossing the line here, Unicorn in Suzuka, the first win of the week for the Japanese Grand Prix Misfits group of races, and Filipic with a stellar drive, 26.3 seconds so far ahead of where Kana is on this grid now. Kana in the McLaren coming down into the final chicane. XTXP gaining on Moen, perhaps just to get that exchange between teammates done. We'll jump on with that in just a second, but there goes Kana now. 2nd position for the McLaren. XTXP hunting down his teammate for 11th position here as we make our way out of the second Degner. Ruben is slated now to cross 3rd. However, Beavis will dispatch him on penalties as he crosses 4th. He does collect that final podium place. Tim now is in 5th position. He's coming out of the final chicane as XTXP is looking to have a run on Moen into Spoon. But yes, Tim now crosses the line to take the checkered flag here. Steph, 4.5 seconds coming through as well. Will take 6th. Whisper on his debut here as a reserve in the MRL will take 7th position. Moen still under threat as Cotters comes across the line. Adrian immediately behind him. No changes as a result of penalties. The rain is coming down now. Moen in 11th. A little bit of a tap between teammates here. XTXP, of course, the full-time racer in this one. Hurricane does take 10th position. Moen now to the line, holding off XTXP. He will jump in to 10th position and get that point for the Alfa Romeo squad. What a race there, Unicorn. And look at the rain coming down now. It was questionable for the tires earlier. Definitely not at this point in time in this race.
I don't think I've seen rain quite like that in this game. It took so long for the track to get to intermediate conditions, and it was a very sudden affair because there was no water on the track, and then suddenly DRS is disabled. Everyone's paying for intermediate tires. It was a very sudden. Maybe the drivers could feel it better than we could see it, but very, very confusing conditions. But this man right here that we're looking at, Filipic, mastered them beautifully. Kana as well there, 2nd place. It's worth pointing out he did pretty much exactly the same thing, just behind him. He started 2nd and he finished 2nd. So a very similar drive from Kana. Just, Filipic that fastest lap, 6/10 faster than Kana's best. You can just see why it is Ifilipic sitting on that top spot and Karnas in P2, but then behind them, obviously, if Ruben had been on that podium, what a stellar drive. You know, ending in a podium from 15th on the grid, but still an excellent drive. Beavis 5th to 3rd, not terrible either.
Yeah, that was a. Felipe was in his own world today. 129.5, fastest lap, pole position, as well as, of course, the race win. 26.996 seconds ahead of Kana there in second with Beavis. Getting podium, 3rd position from 5th for the Renault. What a race. Ruben, 15th to 4th. Just a very up and down race here. Of course, a little bit of drama over at the Alfa Romeo camp at the end of that one there. Moen, of course, in the reserve capacity, costing XTXP some full-time championship points. However, the team will collect the points, and we'll have to see what comes out of that from the Alfa Romeo squad. What a fun campaign. We are going to be rating a member of the F1 community in just one moment, so don't go too far, as we always love to do it. And of course, we have 4 more Japanese Grand Prix coming to you this week. Most of the action taking place, of course, on Thursday. Things kicking off at, I believe, 11:30 a.m. over in the UK. That is, of course, the Oceanic Division. So 11:30 a.m. in the UK. That will be kicking off. And I believe that is, I'm hoping I'm getting this right, 7:30 p.m. Singapore and 10:30 p.m. AEST for our friends over in the Oceanic regions. And I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that Grand Prix. We all appreciate you tuning in. We are just finding someone to raid right now. And we're going to head on over and wish them well. Of course, let us know in the chat if you enjoyed that race. And of course, if you're looking to race in the Misfits Racing League, we're always looking for full-time racers, reserves, and things like this. Just join us in the Discord and go to the Apply channel. But yes, of course, everyone, have a fantastic, fantastic evening, and we will see you this coming Thursday for more Misfits Racing League action. My name is Strifium, and joining me, of course, from the UK, as always, was Unicorn, and have a great, great evening.